In Kuwait, the Arab League will flatly refuse to recognize Israel as a Jewish state in the final resolution at the end of its two-day summit. The Malaysian government calls off all searches in the northern corridor for the missing plane, while angry family members of missing passengers demonstrate in front of the Malaysian embassy in Beijing. And President Barack Obama says that the annexation of Crimea is not a done deal and that NATO will stand by its allies. Welcome back to the news today. This is the Daily Debate. Today in Kuwait, the Arab League summit began, and it seems that the division in the Arab world has reached a peak. Civil war in Syria, tensions in next-door Lebanon, and talks on Iran's nuclear program. Just a few weeks ago, Gulf countries called back their ambassadors from Qatar, and all of those issues will be in one room. With me today is Iranian politics lecturer at the IDC, Meir Javedanfar. Good evening.
Good evening.
And Dr. Bruce Maddy, Weitzman, Senior Research Fellow at the Moshe Dayan Center for Middle Eastern and African Studies at the Tel Aviv University. Good evening.
Good evening.
Gentlemen, you allow me to be cynical tonight, okay?
You have reason to be.
Yes, I'm going to start with a cynical question. So they are sitting down in one room, a lot of problems in the Arab world. I don't even want to start counting the problems. What really this summit is going to do?
Arab summits have always reflected the state of the Arab system. The Arab system, the system of Arab states, is highly conflictual, highly divided. You enumerated some of the main issues that are out there today. So I would say this is a normal state of affairs. Arab summits in the past were big events. There would be efforts to work things out, to address issues, to come up with decisions. Sometimes they succeeded, sometimes they didn't, but they were big issues.
Like the Khartoum summit.
Like Khartoum, like Beirut 2002, like Intifada summits, like there's a number of them. But in history, but now Arab summits have become routine events, even boring events, partly because the ability of the Arab world to really make decisions and move things forward is limited. Partly, I think, because the Arab publics are no less cynical than you are. So this is a routine event, and we can see even that only 13 of the 22 heads of states are even attending, which shows you that Arab states also don't think this is very important. It's not a very special event.
So we just heard that the Arab people, the civilians on the street, one of the biggest accusations towards the leaders is that, where are you? Where are the Arab leaders when people are being massacred in Syria, when people are being massacred in Egypt, when the situation all over the Arab world is collapsing? So how do the Arab League leaders start to deal with these accusations, or they just don't?
I think what's happening in the Arab League is happening in many countries, in that the leadership is preferring to look at the problems outside rather than inside. I think one thing that really stood out in the recent Arab League conference is Qatar. The Qataris are now stopping aid to opposition in Syria. That means they're trying to resolve their differences to Syria. The Qataris just hosted the head of the Islamic Jihad head in Doha. The Qataris are now encouraging Khalid Mash'al to go to Tehran, and they're repairing relations. And the Qataris are just going to allow Azmi Bishara now to have his own TV station called Al Arab Al Jadid, to start broadcasting a more left-wing narrative in order to boost Al Jazeera, because Al Jazeera is being seen as kind of a religious back in Muslim Brotherhood. Now they're trying to create a parallel station to create a more left-wing secularist view of Qatar. What really worries me in terms of what's happening in Arab League, being a little bit selfish because I specialize on Iran, is now Qatar is coming to Syria's help. Qatar is trying to build bridges with Iran. and Qatar's got very, very deep pockets, and this is something that could be very
But
important.
the Arab countries also divided on the Iranian issue, because if you're saying that Qatar is going to reach a hand to Iran, Saudi Arabia is not seeing it in a very nice or a good way.
Indeed, and Qatar's raison d'etre almost, or its central mission, the way I understand its foreign policy in the last 2 decades, has been to take every opportunity to jab at Saudi Arabia, to get under their skin. And Qatar, because of its huge wealth of natural gas resources, has the ability to punch it above its weight, and to be a gadfly and to make itself felt way beyond its size or its population. It's a tiny state, you know. I mean, they have 200,000 citizens. I mean, this is you know, like Ramat Gan in size, but because of their wealth and their willingness to take initiatives, they get on everybody's nerves, really.
Especially with Al Jazeera,
through Al Jazeera, and of course the Saudis are just deeply disturbed by what Qatar is doing. The only cohesive group from the time that the Arab Spring protests broke out, the only cohesive group in the Arab world were the monarchies, the Club of Monarchies, which basically means the GCC, the Gulf states, and with Morocco and Jordan in supporting roles. And now even that GCC group is pulling itself apart because Qatar is going its own path. The Saudis don't like it. They've withdrawn their ambassadors. The Qataris are making themselves felt, and they are going to play the Palestinian card as well. They're already playing the Palestinian card at the summit by saying, you promised at last year's summit, you promised $1 billion to Jerusalem Palestinians to strengthen the Arab character of Jerusalem. You haven't kicked in the money. So this is Qatar's way of doing things. And at the same time, of course, they have had quiet ties with Israel over the years too. So they just can't be pigeonholed.
Exactly this point about the peace process and the Palestinians, really, with the whole Arab world collapsing into itself and fighting in itself. How important are the Palestinians in this summit at all?
I think the issue of Sunni Shia is not taking prominence much more, but especially after what's happening in Syria. But again, I think, personally speaking, I think we'd be deluding ourselves if we think that the Arab world is just going to forget about the Palestinian issue. It's not. But is it the most important issue? It's not. There are other things that are happening, especially in Syria. But again, we should try to focus on the Palestinian issue. Not that it's the golden key that's going to solve all of our problems, but it's a problem that's been going on for many years. I think there's one other thing I'd like to, Professor Weitzman, there was talks that the GCC, the Persian Gulf Cooperation Council, was inviting Jordan and Morocco to join also. That is also, I think, that's going to have geostrategic events, because Jordan and Morocco, not because of the wonderful economies, is because they have lots of Sunni soldiers and they have strong armies. And if they join the Persian Gulf Cooperation Council, I think we're going to see this council punching even higher above its weights, because not only it has the money, now it's going to be boosted with Arab armies, because as we know, majority of the Saudi Air Force especially is run by former Pakistani soldiers, and a lot of the tank crew in Kuwait are Bangladeshis. So I think this is a change that's going to be
I think it's an important point, although I would take a slightly different tack on some of those things. I mean, the Moroccans are not really going to be joining this club. I mean, it doesn't, formally speaking, or sending their troops thousands of miles away to be in some kind of peninsula defense shield. I mean, the Moroccans would obviously they want aid, they want the Gulf financing, so they'll give some moral support. I think the Jordanian forces are present in the Gulf, I think, in small, helping train armies. But the problem with the GCC now is that, again, is this internal split within the GCC. So. Whatever it means, I don't see, even if they were bolstered by some military force backing from outside, I don't see the Gulf being able to defend itself, militarily. When it comes down to it, they need the Americans. And if I just may, to come to the point about the Palestinian question, the one thing about Arab summits is that in terms of the formal resolutions, they're always focusing on the Palestinian issue because this is the lip service that they pay, but also they do provide some political backing. And then Abu Mazen today received the backing. He spoke, he laid out his position, and he's going to get that support. And this is ahead of Barack Obama's visit to Riyadh, to Saudi Arabia on Thursday. And at the same time, I would suspect that somewhere in the final resolution that there will be a reaffirmation of the Arab Peace Initiative resolutions because this is the collective Arab position, and they want to make that point clear to the Americans too. We're not the obstacle. It's the Israelis that they're the obstacle, which is of course, Israel is trying to do the same thing, the opposite.
I want to take you back, gentlemen, to Iran and to the way that the Arab countries, we know how the Arab countries are actually facing and looking at Iran. We see that Iran's efforts were to convince the West that they've changed. They're not going to do the same efforts towards the Arab world?
That's because of domestic politics in Iran. In Iran, you have the moderates, Mr. Rouhani and Mr. Zarif, who really want to improve Iran's relations with the Arab world, especially Saudi Arabia, because their strategic, the strategic godfather of all this was Mr. Rafsanjani, and when he had a security pact with the Saudis, Iran was at its peak of strength in the region. But the problem is that today, when it comes to regional policies being set, is not the government, rather the regime, and it's the Revolutionary Guard, and the Revolutionary Guard is very much against the Saudis because they see what's happening in Syria as a Saudi-sponsored project, and I think this makes it very difficult. If I may add, if I can just add one other country who wasn't present in the Arab Summit, but it's important, and that's Pakistan. The Pakistanis recently concluded a $1.6 billion deal with Bahrain. Bahrain gave them the money to cancel a gas project with Iran. And this is very important because Pakistan is now also going to apparently supply forces to the Bahraini government to quell any Shia uprising. Let's not forget that Pakistan is a Sunni country itself. And I think Pakistan is increasingly going to play a role in the Arab world as the muscle that they need to provide security needs, and also as leverage to pressure Iran. We see more terrorist attacks on the Iranian soil. 5 Iranian soldiers were kidnapped. One of them was executed yesterday. These groups don't appear out of thin air. The Saudis probably, as they say, collusion is no illusion. So I think Pakistan is a very important country to watch out for in the Middle East also.
I think it's a very good point, and it expands our whole definition of what the Middle East is and what where the center of gravity is in the Middle East. Notice, we have not said a word in all this discussion about Arab summits. We have not even mentioned the word Egypt. Where is Egypt? Egypt is the traditional powerhouse of the Arab world. The founder of the Arab Summit, the leader, the self-designated first among equals, the everything about Egyptian self-definition.
So-called only democracy, maybe.
No, not democracy. No.
They love to look at themselves at democracy.
Maybe, but not democracy.
Not today.
No, but my point is that Egypt, the big sister, this is the natural leader of the Arab world. They are nowhere, and they are consumed with their internal problems. The weight of Egypt is absent in regional politics. The Saudis, I think, are trying to bolster Egypt, giving them money to buy Russian arms, in fact, to balance off with the Americans, because everybody's trying to figure out what this new disorder is about. But there is no Egypt, and the other traditional powerhouse or country with weight is Iraq in the Arab world, and they are nowhere. And so we are talking about an Arab world without these two most important countries.
And one thing that wasn't mentioned in the Arab League, which is a very important question, is that in 5 years, United States is going to be a bigger oil exporter than Saudi Arabia. What is the Arab world going to do? How much investments are they making in renewable energy? How much are they diversifying their economies? Some countries are doing a fantastic job. You wouldn't know it, but Bahrain is actually a huge financial powerhouse in the Middle East. They have a massive financial sector. The Qatari, in United Arab Emirates, they're diversing a lot. They have a renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy. In Qatar, they also, financial sector, the construction center, the World Cup. But what is
That's not a way to make
but
money.
it's
That's a
got
way to
lot
lose
of,
money.
It's a big
have a lot of
political
money
thing.
to lose, I
It's a lot. It carries a lot of political
Yeah.
weight. But in terms of what is Saudi Arabia exactly going, how is it exactly going to live? What are these young Saudis going to do? What is the Arab world going to do when Uncle Sam becomes a bigger oil exporter than they are? And I don't see anybody talking about that.
Which is, like, I have to say, if in 30 seconds, one of you gentlemen, if we can, like, maybe paint or write a pyramid, who is at the top, who's at the bottom right now in the Arab world?
You say one country, I say another.
Well, I think that in terms of weight, I think the Saudis still play the leading role now because, as I said, since the Arab Spring, they were the only sort of cohesive bloc. But Saudi Arabia cannot lead by itself. It needs coalitions.
Saudi Arabia, because Sisi is messing up Egypt. Otherwise, it would be Egypt.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much for this very insightful look at the situation. I don't think that we will solve the problems in the Arab world, but at least we understood it a little bit better. Thank you very much for this, and we're going out for a small break, 2 minutes break, and then we will be back with the I-24 News 1-on-1. Don't go anywhere.